And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the monastery, the open bar of the internet, the world's greatest shit show, and the place where we, the good brothers and sisters of this most holy of temples, seek enlightenment through the drunkest, craziest, and most batshit ways possible. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and this is technically a fireside, but before we get into the festivities, I want to take a bit of time to go into things with the temple and how things work. Now, this particular slides I had planned on showing during the debut, but things didn't exactly work out that way. So here we go. I had done two different presentations with two different formats, so bear with me on this. So first, obviously, there's me, myself, and I. The person who is right in front of you and has all of the usual bells and whistles. But one of the goals that I have is to be and arguably has already been accomplished, the first tabletop focused VTuber. And a big reason why I say this is, while there's been plenty of VTubers who've dabbled in TTRPGs in one form or another, a lot of the time it's actual plays, occasionally a world building stream or something like that. But doing things like theory crafting on games, doing stuff on game design, doing reviews on games, and doing interviews with developers, that's not something I see as often. And because of that, I feel it's a niche that I am ideally suited to fill. So fill it, I will. I mean, I've already been doing this kind of thing for 10 years now. So that brings into the question, why did I get into VTubing? Now, we could bring it all the way back to when I first talked about it with the authenticity stream on Geek Watch a few years back. And some of it is just me liking personalities. But in terms of me doing it myself, it was really a case of being encouraged towards the concept because even without realizing it, I was already building lore. You know, the monk, the temple, all of that kind of stuff. And for those of you who are new, even though I've only been doing the VTubing thing for a couple of weeks now, I've been doing content on TTRPGs in one form or another for 10 years. And I hope to continue for another 10 years. That's why the debut was chosen on August 27th, because it would be the 10-year anniversary of the channel. Now, speaking of the channel, as far as what you can expect from it, Monastery Live is largely going to be interviews with creators. Saturdays is Cloister the Dice, which are actual plays of various TTRPGs. The Valley of the Judged is breakdowns of various TTRPG core books in a way that is very reminiscent of J. Stephen Anyong's Let's Study series. Sundays is topic-based podcast in the form of Geek Watch. Sometimes we are reconstructing a work, sometimes we're discussing a particular avenue of geek culture. Every few weeks we do the Parliament of Geeks, which is a review/breakdown of different anime, focused on anime that are around 12 or 13 episodes. And beyond that, there's experimental content, like the occasional Hangover shit show, talking about different indie games, usually after a particular show. I will occasionally do some videos that are just discussing a particular topic or game, usually my first impressions. Speaking of that, I have the first unimpressions series. The un in parentheses, because I think I'm cute sometimes. And in addition to that, I will occasionally be covering sports with some of my friends through the show The Men Who Stare at Sports Ball. But with that said, since reviews are one of the big things that I cover, I think it's as good a time as any to talk about that. And some of this is going to be familiar to longtime viewers, but since the VTubing thing is kind of a soft reset of the channel, it's appropriate to discuss here. So, yes, welcome to my sermons when it comes to my reviewing methods and the mantras of the temple. So, I'll start out with the big problem that I have with reviews. The first off is, a lot of times reviewers will use numerical scoring. And honestly, I find it kind of useless, largely because what what defines a 5 from a 6 is ridiculously subjective, and one would think that 5 is the average, but in reality, 7 has become the average. Largely because of just sheer attrition. In the same vein, I find metascores to be useless because, again, there's that overemphasis on a numerical scoring system. But putting aside the numbers, you have the problem of over-reliance on buzzwords. This is where you get the concept of buzzword criticism, as I've called it. Oh, this feels too linear, or oh, this is too repetitive. Things that are used in lieu of an argument is what I put into the category of buzzword. Second is the feels. Having a strong feeling about a certain game, work, or something like that, that's fine. But a review should give a strong enough perspective that I can understand where you're coming from. So if you just say that's how I feel, or that's just my opinion, that's just noise to me. That doesn't tell me anything. The same thing goes for the whole just my opinion. That is something I wanted to avoid as best as I can. Which is why you see the 5 pillars you have here. Numerical scoring is useless, metascores are useless, reliance on buzzwords, the noise of feels, and not just my opinion. Nothing is ever just your opinion. There's always a reason for it, even if you can't figure out the reason at the moment. So, how do we try to address this in the monastery? Well, instead of focusing on how good or bad a work is, I focus more on who I would recommend it to. The harder it is for me to recommend something, the lower tiered score is going to get. And speaking of that, instead of doing numbers of out of 10, which I did do in my very early days, but I haven't done that in years, we instead go in a tier system, which I will get to in a moment. In addition, I strive for fairness. Some of you may recall that I have a mantra called games not names. The idea is everything gets its fair day in court in as fair of a metric as I can possibly do. Even if it's coming from somebody who's made bad works in the past, everything gets that blank slate. And moreover, articulating my perspectives. If I say that something feels off to me, I'm not going to just leave it at that. I'm going to do my best to go into why I'm coming to that conclusion. I'm not always going to be perfect on that, but I'd rather try than not. Now, when it comes to the tier system, it is largely built on how many asterisks I have to put on a recommendation, and how many people I could recommend it to someone. This is loosely inspired by some of the review metrics that Chuck Sonnenberg, aka SF Debris, would use back in the day. But from highest grade to lowest, it starts at strongly recommended. I can pretty much recommend this to just about anyone as a high quality affair. Recommended, which is really good, but there's a few things that might hold it back from recommending it to some people. Playable, which is alright, but you might have to do a bit of work. Caution, you're going to have to do a lot of work, but I'm not going to tell you no. And avoid, which in good conscience I can't recommend to anybody. And lastly, the temple's mantras. Some of these words you may have heard me say if you watch some of the past streams, but the first one is stay frosty. The large reason I do that is because I like to try and keep a cooler head on things. Try and look at things in, if not a neutral perspective, then as fair a perspective as possible. Not try and be weighed down by intense sentiment. To reference Machiavelli, and anyone can be angry. That's easy. Actually, I think it was Plato. The point is being angry at the right person, at the right time, for the right reasons, and for the right intensity is not as easy as just being angry. Secondly, you are not a crusader, and this is one of the commandments that you'll see in the Discord server. Whatever your strongly held beliefs are about this or that topic, they stay at the door. When you're in the temple, the focus is on the subject matter, which is just talking about stuff and having fun. Believability over realism is a concept where the notion of realism in the typical sense is something I try and avoid, largely because it is used in a very reductionist manner. So it's more about presenting something in a way that I want to be taken in with it. The audience wants to be tricked. Now, Design by Gospel is something I've talked about on multiple occasions. It is where things are done a certain way because they've always been done a certain way. And it's something I've endeavored to avoid. Because when you go down that tradition route, you can have things that really need to be adjusted, but aren't because, oh, we've always done it this way. It can lead to a very dangerous feedback loop. Now, blank check design is something that I've covered in some TTRPGs, and this is where you're dealing with something that has a very narrative angle, and in order to make it work, it's important to provide a degree of guidance. And lastly, games, not names. This was something that I talked about on multiple occasions, and we've used the mantra. And as I said before, everything gets its day in court. Everything has that blank slate. Now, with the presentation over, and a little bit of preview for later tonight, let me get to the better end of the show tonight. So welcome in everybody. The party can resume.
Yo.
Hi.
Hello.
So we
Hello.
have
Good
with
afternoon.
us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 good brothers. Ha 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 ha.
God damn it.
He always does that when he has more than 2 people. Theo.
Yes, he does.
I know. And
Just get used to it.
it cracks
Yeah.
me up every time. My dumb humor is unsalvageable.
Well, then you fit right in here.
Yeah, true. True. That's very true.
Yeah.
Anywho, introduction.
Mm-hmm. So we have
Who starts?
our waifu hunter, good brother Akira.
If your anime waifu happens to be dating a person named Kirito, then that waifu is by far automatically trash. Fuck SAO.
We have our Basilisk brother bringing in the tunes on Tuesday. Good brother Drew.
Hey, what it be, my good brethren?
We have our flamboyant flyer and living Wikipedia, good brother Flutter.
Whoosh.
Wish.
And we have our resident cosplayer, good brother Slick Rick.
Good introduction.
Okay.
We like it.
Oh, he's
It's
just
been,
a full
it's been one of those weekends, folks.
Oh.
It's been one of those weekends and months, and it's going to just get worse.
But we have our making his grand return, the man who has been really essential in helping me navigate the whole VTubing landscape. Good brother Theo.
Hi. Hello. It's been a while, honestly. It's been a while since I've been here. It's nice.
Wow.
Also, am I being ignored over here?
I mean, you had
saving the
laid
best for
you had laid
last.
the groundwork, John, and Theo had.
I'm talking about the introductions. You skipped me.
Sorry, and of course, the man guiding you through all of your manga dubs, good brother John.
Thank you.
Oh God, it's John, voice actor.
John, he wasn't ignoring you. John, he wasn't ignoring you. He was saving the guide for last. The best for last. Last but not least, as it were.
Yes, but with that said, and hang on, let me add in the audio. I've been doing the I've essentially been doing the VTubing thing for about 2 weeks now. Obviously, as I mentioned before, debuting on the 10-year anniversary, and it's been it's been an interesting setup. And Zan's in the middle of moving, so he's not going to be in the
Yeah.
temple for a few days. But with that said, because of the fact that I didn't feel like doing the setup just yet for the rest of the month's topics. Plus this was a very busy week with the release of the demo for Legend Edition.
Oh!
I opted to have it as a bit of a fireside because, well, I haven't done a fireside yet as a VTuber proper, and
Yeah.
I am still navigating the landscape, but it's not like as I mentioned during the stream, it's not like my content's gonna change.
Just the visual overhaul is all.
Obviously, because of the fact that we launched the demo for Legend Edition at Sage, the floodgates have been opened with a lot of newcomers coming into the temple, and I do hope a good amount of them stick around for the rest of the content beyond just Legend Edition. I'm still gonna be doing stuff, obviously, and there's also the fact that I am doing, and hang on, I'm still getting used to the whole playing background music thing, which I did figure out.
Don't worry, man. It's hard to remember all the time. It definitely is.
Audio mixing can be a pain in the dick.
It is entirely.
Yeah, can't dispute that.
Yep.
Yeah, what made it easier was I found a application on the Windows Store called Ear Trumpet, which I can't screenshot it here, but what it does is it shows each of the programs that are tied to audio, so I can adjust them individually and separates them by audio device. And I was able to reset up the virtual audio cable so that the music is going to be heard by the people watching, but not by the people in the call. I just have to remember to occasionally set up the playlist, which I know it's something where somebody could go, "How could you forget that?" I've only been doing the playlist thing a handful of times over the last decade, so
And on Cloister, Lady K handles most of that, so that you can't point to that either.
Yeah, it's the bigger thing is just needing to set it up in advance. It's just one more step. It's one of those things I will eventually get with enough practice. But with that in mind, it is kind of fun. It is kind of funny that I've been talking about this whole FF Legend project for years, and it's a bit amusing to see that some of the assumptions that people had were not rooted in reality. That whole appeal to a casual kind of thing has not cropped up at any point. The one that was advanced by a certain idiot who won't be named here. I have had to correct a few people who assume that this is Final Fantasy D&D, but not as many. Although there was that one comment that was like, "Oh, you're going to be in so much trouble with Square Enix's lawyers." I'm like, this is Square's not Nintendo.
Yeah.
They're not.
Yeah,
Put it
yeah,
into perspective to why that claim is false. There have been versions of a Final Fantasy TTRPG for 25 years.
yeah. I think the biggest thing ever is that fan games, doujinshi, TTRPGs, it has been largely encouraged, I would say, by the creators of Final Fantasy and similar franchise to that. Huh?
Go ahead, Theo.
Yeah, like all of that is generally Nintendo. Nintendo is objectively the Yakuza, basically. The Yakuza pretended to be a kids' game company. like that's a.
You're not wrong, Theo. Like, let's face it, Nintendo has a certain image they want to keep of their games. So even if it's something as, let's face it, I forget what it's called. John, you're the fan of this genre, but it's like the remake of Metroid 2 that came out years ago, the fan made.
Oh yeah, another Metroid 2 remake.
Yeah, that one. That was so popular and
AM2R.
Yep, thank you. That was so popular because
And I'll have to adjust the audio on that. Thank you for giving out two gift subs. So congrats to Dragon and Coops. I hope you enjoy the ad-free viewing.
Much appreciated, Sparrow.
Yeah. I didn't realize that the setup was going to be that loud.
Jesus.
Mop.
Yeah.
Bless you.
actually know it. Honestly, you should.
How could I not use? Because for the benefit of everybody else, I used WTF Boom for the gift sub audio.
Okay, where's the sound effect of the books falling down?
Yeah, that would be better.
Don't have it. I went with that because because I wanted to. But
Nothing wrong with that.
But if I'm being honest, I know why some people were thinking that Square would be on our asses, because there's the argument that could be made that the FF14 TTRPG that's being made is some competition.
It really isn't.
Well, I addressed this weeks ago in the in the itch page, and it boils down to the fact that what it's doing and what we're doing aren't the same. We're trying to make a more universal kind of approach, which when I was on Jay Tombahat's stream, he was talking about Sage. Somebody had remarked that we're making the GURPS of Final Fantasy, which not exactly the case, but I guess in some ways there's a point there.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's any core difference that I can hammer home is the fact that what it's doing is trying to emulate just the MMO. We're trying to emulate the soul of the whole franchise.
Yeah.
And while I was going back and looking at the different notes, and I will note, if anybody's looked at the PDF, it is an absolute monster at 413 pages, and we don't have all of the content in yet.
Jesus.
Do you have the table of contents in?
Yeah, I took a gander at the entire thing, and I've been reading it slowly over time, and it's just like I like the art of it, like really a lot. I just really like the art of it, genuinely.
Mm-hmm.
Genuinely.
Yeah, a lot of the icon stuff that was done by Matt. Matt and Nomi handled the layout design.
Mm-hmm.
when it came to the character art, like all the character art you see for the races and classes, that was June Chris, who had handled all of that.
Wow.
They've done work for me many times over the years.
I see.
But the when it comes to some of the additional art, there's one background piece that's kind of hidden in the first few pages that was done by Nami. I've seen the full version of that image, but for a later version, we're planning on doing putting in some fill-in art from the games, just to account for some of the blank spaces.
Right.
There is a lot of white space, but making sure that the book was navigatable was a major priority, because if anybody has watched my reviews in the past, you'll know that I've stated that I'm very, very harsh on games that don't have proper navigation.
Right.
The
Games that don't have an index, for example.
index or bookmarks, that kind of thing. And we've got
Yeah.
bookmarks, and we have hyperlinks.
Nice.
I thought you meant like exploration mechanics for a second.
No.
No.
A glossary and an index are what he's most critical on when it comes to books.
Mm-mm.
Okay, cool. I got those.
Yeah,
It's,
it
especially
comes
with
from
how big.
Drew. It
big
comes
some of these
from
books are.
my long history with Palladium and how they would have table of contents that were inaccurate or not have an index in a lot of the Rifts books.
Mm.
There's also the fact that when going through a given book, when you're in play, no matter how crunch light or crunch heavy the game is, there's going to be a situation where you need to look up a certain rule now.
Yeah.
Not yesterday, not tomorrow, right fucking now. And
Yep.
having an index for that is going to make it a whole lot easier.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If there's if there's a I suppose one of the more infamous cases was grapple checks back in D&D 3rd.
Mm.
But I will shifting from that. The main thing that hasn't been added yet that will be added down the road is Chapter 11, which is the advanced rules. That is where we have Materia, that's where we've got Magicite, that's where we have the Sphere Grid, that's also where we have the Digital Mind Wave from Crisis Core.
Yep.
And given what we've got for that, and the bestiary that we put in, because we only put in 20 NPCs in the bestiary in the demo. The full bestiary is going to have 200.
Nice.
That's about right.
Standard amount for a Final Fantasy game.
I don't know if it's standard amount, especially since something to keep in mind with a lot of RPGs is you have stronger variants of the same monster. And that's not really something that's applicable here because of the whole sliding stats setup. So, for example, we're not going to have we're not going to stat out a bomb and then later on stat out a grenade. We just have the bomb. Because all that a
Yeah.
grenade is just a bomb with stronger stats. So what would be the point?
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the fact that it's like scaling with certain environments, and because maybe someone wants to use the system, but they want to do something like FF12, which is more FF12, which was FF12 inspired, so that was more focused on like the desert areas. So you don't really see the need to constantly go to the jungle-based ones.
More importantly, it's just I'm not going to add in a bunch of variants of the same thing.
Yeah. Redundant.
I remember being annoyed when I heard Borderlands say, "Oh, we got a zillion guns." And it's like it's a bunch of variations on a handful. You don't actually have as many guns in your game as you claim you do.
Nice try.
Grease fan.
Hmm?
But although I will say that's probably going to be more dignified than the Borderlands movie.
Not exactly a high bar to cross.
No.
Nope.
Yeah, you're placing the bar too low there, I would say.
I suppose I should play a bit of buy or sell about which is going to be registered as the bigger bomb of 2024 between the Crow remake and the Borderlands movie.
The Crow.
No, which one's the worst? Any dog who refuses to do a trick. I have higher expectations.
Choices. What are you doing?
Wait,
Simple.
the question was which movie is going to be worse?
Which is the big? Which is going to be the bigger bomb?
Hardest?
So which movie is going to be the worst? Right?
See, here's the problem with that argument. You're talking in terms of actual quality. We're talking in terms of sales numbers.
Gross.
Okay.
Ticket sales. Both movies
Which
are
one's
shit.
gonna-
Which one was
sell
received
worse?
as shit?
Okay.
Yeah, which one got the least amount of money at the box office?
And our options again
The Crow remake.
Crow remake.
in Borderlands.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Crow remake is going to make less than the Borderlands movie.
Yeah,
On the basis of that movie should never have been made, period. Like, Borderlands has a chance.
Had.
I'd rather see Borderlands over the Crow. Over that shitty Crow reboot.
Back in the day, movies could get a second chance through VHS. I'd like to say they
home
can
video
get
sales, yeah.
I'd like to say they can get a better chance through streaming, but the problem is there's not really a reliable enough metric when it comes to streaming numbers, and the metrics that that are out there have a bunch of asterisks.
Mm-hmm.
And just as an example, a lot of times they'll measure on like minutes watched, but
that's not an acceptable metric. That's like comparing. That's ratings. That's basically a bigger metric for ratings.
And we're
talking about movies.
With Nielsen ratings, you can there's a lot more detail in what gets measured.
Yeah.
The people in the household, the demographic of the household, etc., etc.
Yep.
But of course, the other problem is a lot of streaming services aren't public when it comes to their numbers.
Nope. Like, for example, Disney Plus.
Yeah, well, the rat can go fuck himself. But I do know that the Crow remake, I think, cost about 50 million and
50 million.
and only made about 8. Borderlands
No, it was
cost
13.7.
yeah. Borderlands made the same amount, but it also cost about 150 million.
Oh, Mick, never mind. Upped it on the Crow reboot, 18.5.
So I know some might say that if it gets 250 that it'll broken even. No. For it to break even it'd
yeah.
It'd have to make like 125.
Yep.
I've mentioned this
Breaking even means that it also makes a profit for the company that it's being made for. That's being made by.
Flutter, you jumped the gun a little bit.
My apologies.
It's more that it has something has to make 2.5 what its budget was, and if you're dealing with something that has a lot of reshoots or a lot of rewrites on scripts, the listed budget probably is lower than what they actually spent.
I see.
But personally, I think one of those two movies is going to end up getting a Razzie.
Which one?
Might be both of them, but as far as which one gets worst of the year, it's probably going to be the Crow remake.
I think the reason I think the Crow remake has the biggest chance because Borderlands, what it is ultimately, it's how does it? It's not so bad. It's funny. It's just nothing. It's just a big nothing burger with its identity entirely cut out. That's basically what I see it in it. Like it's boring, forgettable. It's the worst a movie can ever be. Literally. Like, you have the Troll 2 movies, who are remembered to this day because of how they were so bad, they kind of roundabout, The Room, they kind of roundabout to be memorable, right? The Borderlands movie could have a chance of being awful, but it's not awful, it's not good, it's nothing. It's just nothing. That's why people responded to it with a resounded meh.
Like, I knew about it was coming out. I have friends who are big into it, and even they forgot it was even coming out because they were hyped on when they first heard about it, but they totally forgot until it came out, and they were like, "We're not going to go see it. We have other things we want to do."
Yeah.
Not to mention, like, one of them's a big Roland fan, and they're like, Kevin Hart can't do them.
Oh, you know who's really salty about the movie's failure?
Pitchford?
The Grease Man.
Of course he was.
That tracks.
Yeah. Apparently. Which on the plus side, it's a great advertisement for the game because now you can get the games at a deep ass discount.
Hey!
I don't think you can anymore.
You could for a little bit. So, but on the other hand, so apparently they had brought in Eli Roth of all people to direct originally.
No. He picked the horror.
And midway through, he gets booted off, and a whole new director has to do a bunch of pretty much redoing half the damn movie at that point.
Yeah.
I hate it when that happens.
I remember someone talking in the industry or something about Borderlands movie is that they were shooting it as if it's gonna be like gory and basically like really fucking bloody, but then in post-production they basically took out all of the fun stuff that they put in there, and it's just like, I don't really know what the post-production team really thought would happen. Like, if they get a PG-13 Borderlands movie, the fuck are they expecting?
That's like making Deadpool or Carnage PG-13. It doesn't fucking work.
Well,
yeah.
Okay, I have a question.
Shoot.
Yeah. Shoot.
And like, over the years, how many movies that were based off of a rated R or rated M, whatever, that a game movies based off of a game or source material that was meant for adults that have gotten a rate that when the movie came out was a rating PG, PG-13, etc. How many of those actually worked? Because to my knowledge, one of the one, if not the only one that I know of, and I keep in mind I'm not a big movie fan, was the original Mortal Kombat movie from the 90s.
Yeah.
And
even then, the remake was good.
Oh, I know, but that's not the point of the question.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm just making an observation.
I mean, that's like a national treasure. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Hiroyuki Tagawa is Shang Tsung. Fuck yes.
But I think what instantly comes to mind when it comes to the competency factor is what happened with Paramount originally that got us that god awful trailer for Sonic.
Oh yeah, Ugly Sonic.
Oh
yeah.
God.
Yeah, and I've told the story elsewhere, but for the benefit of the newcomers, that was actually an attempt at compromise. Because for whatever reason, Paramount had wanted to lean more into horror. Do not ask me why.
No.
I have no idea, and I don't think I ever will find out.
That makes
But
no
when they
damn
saw
sense
how
for
much
Sonic.
backlash they were getting, they were like, "Yeah, nope, back to the drawing board."
Well, the big reason they went back to the drawing board is Sega of Japan went to both Sega of America and Paramount, and they wanted blood.
Understandable, all things considered.
Yeah, like their iconic character that one of the most moneymakers, biggest moneymakers ever. I imagine the CEO of Sega Japan near had a heart attack watching this fucking trailer.
They were fucking mortified because the intent was to use the first Sonic movie as a launching point to expand what they do with the Sonic IP. So they're planning on doing more games and the like, which of course they did. And if that one opening move ends up being a disaster, it pretty much takes the rest down with it. So they were not happy.
Yeah.
And guess what we have now?
Mm-hmm.
Keanu Shadow.
I will
That
say
works too goddamn well.
I will say history may be repeating itself because I did finally look at the trailer for that Minecraft movie, and dear lord, what the fuck?
I was going
Here's the problem. Here's the problem, though. Unlike the Sonic movie, there's no fixing this. You can't go back and just redo that. With the Sonic movie, the only major problem was that the character needed to be redesigned to be fit more in line with the original.
Yeah.
With the Minecraft movie, its problems are at its very foundation. The characters look like crap. The story looks like shit. You know, the animation can be fixed, but it doesn't fix all the other underlying problems. There's no saving that. That movie is doomed. I'll straight up say it. It's a disaster waiting to happen.
I have to wonder if that's the reason Kotaku made that desperate article called "Sorry, Mike. Sorry, folks. This movie wasn't made for you." And I screenshotted the top of it and then retweeted it and said, "Then for who?"
Yeah, because let me tell you, if you're trying to try to pull this movie's made for kids line, my kids saw this trailer and they thought it looked like shit.
I'd rather watch. Oh, go ahead.
Mace had responded and said it's for kids. The same excuse they used for the She-Ra reboot, and I immediately said kids deserve better than that.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, even my kids looked at this and went, "What the fuck?" Yeah. Trust me, that argument ain't gonna fly this time.
There was a particular infamous episode of the Tennant era of Doctor Who that
10
that Sonnenberg had ripped into, and it was right at the start. It was pointed out, but that I think the writer or the director of the episode had tried to pull it was meant for a young audience. It wasn't meant for you. And he was like, I had no idea you could do that. That is so awesome. So here's what's gonna happen. I am gonna tear this shit episode a new one. And if you feel obliged to disagree. Well, too bad. It wasn't meant for you. And
I think it's
here the episode that I'm referring to is Fear Her, not Love and Monsters.
Yeah,
Oh,
Love and
yeah,
Monsters
though-
was just shit in
though-
general.
Yeah,
Well,
here
like-
we do not talk about Love and Monsters. That never happened.
No, Fear Her was the one, and yeah, it's equally bad, but I'd still say Love and Monsters is worse.
I'd take Fear Her over Love and Monsters.
I think it's like the one thing a lot of those people who use that excuse have to realize the younger demographic this says they're smarter than we give them.
Yes.
So a lot
It's
of
hard to give
time
them credit for.
I think a
So-
lot of people forget that we were in that age range at one point, and we were not that dumb back then.
A lot of the quote unquote for kids stuff we all watched back in the day. What was some of the qualities we remembered that kept gravitating us back towards those shows growing up? And most of them I think of were they were, while they had like their childish moments, they didn't feel like insulting their audience. They trusted them to grow with them.
Go
Well,
ahead.
it's a simple metric. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
If you make
Thanks, James.
if you make a good show, you will get an audience.
Yeah,
Quality
here's
is
the
gonna
thing
play
that I
itself
think.
out. Good.
Yeah, here's the thing. A lot of people don't really like. If you look at the actual metrics of it, what are the shows that are the most popular when it comes to quote unquote kid shows? They tend to be the ones that actually are more mature than they come off. You look at stuff like the original Digimon series, the original Avatar: The Last Airbender series. You take a look at shows like that. Those tend to be the ones people look back on.
Animaniacs.
Animaniacs, which had a lot of mature jokes in it.
Both
Freakazoid and all
the
those other
original
shows.
and the reboot.
Yeah. Those are shows handle mature subject matter, but did in a way that kids could either appreciate or it flew over their head so that adults could enjoy them too.
Hell,
That's
two
the
others.
Mhm.
Darkwing
Oh, you
Duck
could-
and Gargoyles.
You
There's-
could name a million shows that have done this and have succeeded and are fondly remembered. You look back at a lot of the DC and Marvel animated series back in the 90s. A lot of them were very mature for their
DCAU and
age.
MCU or an MAU?
Yeah. A lot of those shows, they did not talk down to their audience, and people still look back at those shows with fond memories. That is the
Like
kind of thing you need to be
X-Men.
doing.
Mhm.
That's
X-Men,
why
Spider-Man, Batman, Superman.
This is why people say that Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill are the definitive voices for Batman and Joker.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. And but
But-
that's the thing. Those are the shows people remember, not the shows that talk down to their audience. I don't care what age range, unless you're aiming for Nick Jr. level content, you do not talk down to your audience. That is not what you do.
Okay, so here
Yeah.
I know we all didn't watch much stuff, but it's like within the last decade, gave me 5 shows that respected their audience that were original to the last decade. I'm going to give a little bit of leeway by going to 2010.
I can name one.
Go ahead.
MLP Friendship's Magic.
Of course
Yeah.
you would.
Hey, no, you know what? I'm going to give him this one.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to give Flutter this one because at the end of the day, he's right. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a girly show, but it handled some pretty mature stuff and did not talk down to its audience.
Oh, there's a fucking episode about divorce. There are 2 episodes in particular I want to highlight.
Yeah.
There's an episode about divorce, and there's an episode about parents dying.
Yeah. But then I think maybe it's also because I was getting older at the time, so I enjoyed it. But it's like I gave the leeway to 20 far back as 2010 because Young Justice, that one was
Oh yeah,
very successful.
Tell you, here's
Another
how we
one I
end it.
can-
Tell you what. Let's instead of just diving into every single show that has done this, let's compare 2 Cartoon Network series that came around the same time: Steven Universe and Teen Titans Go.
Other Titans, no, fuck off.
Yeah,
Deal with
I'm
it,
I'm
Clutter.
using this to make a point. I'm doing this to make a point. Steven Universe, for all of its flaws, that I'm sure people love to point out, was a series that handled a lot of mature topics, and it didn't talk down to its audience, and had some very strong themes to it. And it was well loved for a long fucking time, and still beloved to this day. Then you look at Teen Titans Go.
From Walt Disney regarding
Butter. Go ahead, John.
I don't appreciate being talked over when I'm trying to talk here.
Apologies.
But then you look at Teen Titans Go. First of all, already doing this to a beloved series that didn't talk down to its audience was mistake number one. But the fact that it openly insulted its audience on multiple occasions, especially the people who wanted something like the original Teen Titans and outright mocked you for wanting that pissed everybody off because it was trying to take something mature and turn it into something childish. And with how long it ran, it's amazing that it worked. But it was a show that everyone to this day still despises.
Well, not to mention, like, for a time, it was one of by the time when Teen Titans Go and Steven Universe both started, there was a plethora of other shows out there. So, okay, if you didn't like either or, there was still many times. There's still other things that could go, and half of them would be just as like Steven Universe. They would probably respect your intelligence. By the time Steven Universe finished airing, I would assume like there was a time. I remember seeing this. I forget who, but someone posted a shot. I think it was somewhere in the late 2010s, and it was the viewing table for shows airing on Cartoon Network.
Oh, the schedule.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
Yeah,
and it's like 90% Teen Titans Go.
Ugh.
I'm like, yeah.
If you want to know
This is
how
why I
it,
say. Go ahead.
you want to know how it ended up lasting so long and doing as it did. Well, there you go. It's kind of hard for it to do badly when it's the only thing there. And
yeah,
Go ahead.
I think I had warned about that approach at the time, saying this is going to backfire because it's going to overstay its welcome, and even if you fix the issue later, you've already pissed off so many people they're not going to come back. And then I look at what's happening currently with Cartoon Network, and I'm like, I warned you.
This is what happens when you have a CEO of the company that you are a part of that openly derides animation.
I know it's going to be tempting. I know it's tempting to pin all of this on Zaslav these days, but the problem did not start with him.
It started with the CEO of Cartoon Network. I get that.
Like
So ever.
The rot had been set in years ago. I'd say it was set in during the mid to late 2000s.
Oh yeah, when they did CN Real.
Mm-hmm. But
oh yeah,
and that I know it's tempting to want to point at one person and say that person is the literal scapegoat. Fuck you, Jack Perry. And pin all of the problems on that one person, but that's not how this kind of thing often works. I mean, that certainly wasn't the case for, say, Midway, and why they ended up going belly up,
Going the way of the dodo. Yeah.
Swak. The reason for their case was that they were throwing money at everything that moved, and then realized that they had to pay the piper.
Yeah. If I may bring up a quote from Walt Disney. You're dead if you aim only for kids. Adults are only kids grown up anyway.
But since I brought up Jack Perry, I should note that things ended up working in a way in my favor over the week, because since Cloister wasn't a thing, it meant I was able to catch a good amount of All Out with John and the crew.
Oh yeah.
Eddie was right.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that meme circulating. It will always be. Apparently now the excuse from some of the tribalists is must 6,000 people.
Fuck off. Attendance numbers don't matter.
No, they matter, but
the attendance numbers matter, but not that much.
It's one of those things where a lot of people, especially bad actors, look at just the numbers and not look at context.
Yeah. Or content.
One of the things I did a short about was people are always looking at the ratings numbers, the Nielsen ratings, to determine whether or not AEW is doing better than WWE. And I'm like, guys, do you not realize that AEW pushes more for streaming as much as they do television, and that ratings don't account for streaming numbers, so they may not be near as wide a gap as you think it is?
You've probably heard this adage a lot, because I've used it a lot. There are 3 kinds of lies in this world: white lies, damn lies, and statistics. And
yep,
the reason that keeps applying is
go ahead, Monk.
When it comes to statistics, a lot of people will, as I said, just look at the numbers and not look at the bigger context. In the case of ratings, the reason why that doesn't work as well as it did is because it's not like the 90s where that was the main way you'd get the audience was through either network or cable television. Nowadays you have people going through streams, going through watches at say bars and the like.
Oh, there's a reason why. Hell, need I mention the fact that theaters air pay-per-views, or at least used to?
They do, but that's never put into a factor because that is a very, very limited sample. Like the theaters that do it, there's not. In my area, there's only one theater that does that, and that's the AMC in Arbor Lakes. And I haven't been to that theater in about 7 years.
Yeah, that number doesn't really mean much. But again, like when you look at AEW pay-per-views, sure, yeah, there's the actual pay-per-view buys, but then you've also got Bleacher Report, and you've got all the international services that streams that are showing the pay-per-view.
Fight TV.
Like TV, Triller, Sky, all these, even YouTube for some countries, all these different metrics to determine what actual viewing numbers are for these pay-per-views. It's impossible to get an idea of how many people are actually watching AEW right now, and that goes for television as much as it is pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
It drives me nuts.
Go ahead. Finish your thought.
It just drives me nuts that these freaking like these tryhards are looking for any excuse to bash on on a wrestling promotion that's not WWE in an era where WWE got better because there was legit competition. Why are you trying to kill the very thing that's making your product better?
Hell.
Well, if they want a nostalgic return to that HD era, but then again, some people are nostalgic for just about anything.
It's a sweet poison.
Yeah,
that's like we have made the reference or lesson, whatever it is, multiple times here, and it's been spread about the internet. But we have to emphasize, no matter what, competition in situations like these with AEW, WWE pushes everyone, and usually when they're pushing, it's always for the better because at the very least they're trying to improve upon themselves. Where if they have no one, they're stagnant, and what happens with stagnation?
It dies.
Well, why do you think I keep bringing up the state of sim racing?
It becomes a stag.
Stags are usually the omen for a quest.
Yeah.
Dude, let's go hunting.
I was gonna say there's overpopulation issue somewhere.
Oh yeah, the whole thin out their numbers. It's just we're thinning out their numbers with a flamethrower.
Hell, why do you think Raw is moving to Netflix next year.
Oh, which that'll the logistics of that will be interesting, but
Yeah.
Continuing on that kind of thing. The only, if I'm being honest, the only I think that doing a follow-up pay-per-view after a tentpole pay-per-view is not the best idea. And again, I've been of the
a week after All In.
I've been of the mindset that doing a promotion
2 weeks.
doing more than one pay-per-view in a month is too much.
Yeah.
Didn't like it when WWE did it. Not gonna give AEW any slack.
Like,
Though to
didn't
their
we give-
credit, they at least try.
Yeah.
I like, didn't we give WWE crap for doing it like once a month?
I'm
we
fine
kinda-
with once a month.
As am I.
Like,
But
I would say like
one pay-per-view and then 2 weeks. One pay-per-view and then 2 weeks later another. You don't have time to breathe.
Yeah.
I think it's like
And you see that with the build-up. Like, some of the matches had barely any time to build up, and there was no... like.
Hell, Swerve versus the Lights Out cage match was just put together in a week.
No,
in
I'm
terms
going to
of
give that one a
story.
pass. I'm going to give that one a pass because that had months of build-up to get to that point. No,
That-
you want to talk about a match
Fair.
that had no build-up and came out of nowhere? Monet versus Sheeta.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Like, I'm a big Sheeta fan.
Momo Watanabe a week earlier in Washington D.C. What the fuck?
I was gonna say, like, I'm a big Sheeta fan. I will openly say this. She is one of my favorite wrestlers.
Same
I
here.
don't have the time anymore to watch a lot of AEW, but anytime I hear Sheeta's going, I go back to watch her matches. Even I felt this one was
especially with
forced.
her current gimmick.
Also,
She's a,
to-
yeah. Go
no,
ahead.
so go ahead.
Okay, so the other thing was, I'm gonna bounce off of John, what he said with the Swerve Page one. That was going back to their feud when Page was the champion.
Yeah,
It's been like that.
Oh yeah, the cowboy shit gimmick.
Yeah, that's almost a year of build-up for that match, so that one was
Fair.
fine. Also,
Fair.
since we were talking about Monet earlier, I'm going to go ahead and say this right now. I am done with Mercedes Monet. I am writing her off as a lost cause.
You too?
Yeah.
Oh my god. All In ruined it for me. Straight up. That match with Baker was a disaster. And there is no
The title
excuse,
just put her titles on someone else.
yeah, Baker has an excuse because she just came back from injury. This was her first match back. So, okay, you can forgive Baker for not being at 100%. But Monet? Yeah, the match with Hikaru Shida was okay, but it still wasn't great. And that just proves my point. Monet has lost it. She has lost her touch. And I hate to say that because I know she can do good. She did great matches in WWE. Where did Sasha Banks go?
Yeah.
Because her promos are shit. Her wrestling is shit. What the fuck happened? You're better than this, Monet.
Hell, Hikaru is a good partner for her. It's just she didn't need to carry the fucking match. Ugh.
If I
With her
had,
current gimmick, Kazuma Kiryu.
She is a bit. Well, she was a big Yakuza fan.
Yakuza fan before that.
Yeah.
I know she's been streaming the Yakuza series. For months.
She got no. She knows she was good because she got a package from Atlas themselves when they released it. Sega Atlas.
Yeah. Kara, that excuse doesn't fly at this point. Like, okay, when she first showed up, fine, you can make that argument. She's had several months since then. Why has she not gotten better?
Yeah.
She's rehab. What the fuck?
Who was? Forgive me for this one. John, who was the female wrestler Maddie kept ripping on that needed to get rid of? It was like Marina Shafir, I think.
You know what the sad part is? Marina Shafir right now is actually looking really good with her new gimmick.
Yeah, I think, but that's the thing. It's like I'm throwing her Mercedes Moné just from what I've seen. goes in that category, goes into that, and if this was WWE, all I would say is send her to Connecticut.
You know what? I think they should do? Send her down to ROH.
Yeah,
Have
that
her
should
work
be
with
what they
Marina
do. Have her
Shafir.
work.
Have her.
The problem
Go ahead.
is that Monet is too big of a name to throw into ROH. She's built her brand up too high that she'll never do it. She will insist to be a main event player, but she has not earned it.
I think that's like
that's the problem.
and I think that's like the one thing I always liked. Like with AEW, that was the thing. Even if they had these big names, these big names that are new signees, they had to earn their spot. And just seeing Mercedes Moné just thrown in there, I'm like, yeah, no.
She's the female Hulk Hogan of AEW.
Oh,
or Cunt Hogan, I should say. You know I'm right.
Yeah. I will. On the other hand, I know a lot of people are pro-clutching about the Lights Out match, but
that was fun. An unsanctioned steel cage match. We've never had that. That's unique.
Well,
let's mention.
You have whenever you have anything leaning into hardcore, you inevitably have a bunch of pro-clutchers who try to dismiss it or try and say that it's outlaw wrestling or something like that. Basically as if it's CZW circa 2003.
Cry me a river, build a bridge, and get the fuck over yourselves.
But now, if they were doing these kind of hardcore matches every single week, that'd be one thing.
Because it gets stale.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to ask this. When was the last time we had a Lights Out match?
It's been a few
last one I
months.
remember is Adam Cole versus Orange Cassidy, which was months, almost a year ago.
Give me a sec.
And so that's the thing. We, as much as they can harp on. AEW doesn't do this like monthly or
special occasions.
Yeah, it's a special occasion.
In this case, it made sense to do it because of how deep this feud had gotten. This was the case that these two had reached a breaking point. They wanted to murder each other.
Especially
and nothing
Hangman
short of this
because
was
he
going to stop.
Go ahead, Shades. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, Paige burned his house down in response to Swerve invading his home. Like, these two were at each other's throat.
Yes, I knew
that was the response. Yeah, last year, Swerve in the original feud had actually invaded Paige's home. That's what set Adam Page on this downward spiral.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Rick, to answer your question, the last unsanctioned match we had, Double or Nothing 2023.
And what was the dates for that?
May 28th, 2023. It's been over a year. It's been a year and 4 months.
So
also,
there was enough time for it. So
also, it wasn't Adam Cole versus Orange Cassidy. It was Adam Cole versus Chris Jericho with Sabu as special guest enforcer.
Oh, that one.
No, I just don't believe that one. I still say it's the to me, the Orange Cassidy one was much better because again, there was. Hush you.
You're gonna argue with the debut of Danhausen, sir?
Okay, fair enough. Never mind. I won't make money first.
Hey, as long as you fucking tracking, boy.
Yeah, and yes,
Danhausen.
I have seen the image of Danhausen and Mackyhausen.
Yes, we've seen it. I shared that earlier.
That was great.
I think she's trying to make up for the fact that she is no longer the cutest in the world.
No, Minoru Suzuki's the cutest in the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Murder Grandpa. Yeah, Murder Grandpa, despite how old he is, can still be cute.
Are you gonna argue with them about it?
No. I don't want to get young. I don't want to get young blood by Murder Grandpa. Are you mad?
Yes.
No, if I do, I'm going to throw a flat in first, so he can get killed. Then I'll go.
Oh.
Is that the whole? You don't have to be the fastest member of the party. You just have to outrun the slowest member of the party.
Yes.
Rick.
But yeah, that's the most reliable way to win.
Flut, here's my Flut. There's one problem. You're not my type.
But
Fair enough.
Damn.
That's
although
support.
speaking
You still owe me a star, though.
Moving on.
Speaking of parties, I didn't get a chance to let it settle in. But John, what did you think of 6083 when we did that the other week?
It was not bad.
Yeah, that was, as he kind of hinted, but that was an interesting story where he wanted to play D&D with some of the family, but he was too young, so he wasn't allowed in. So he ended up making what he thought was D&D and just evolving it into what you saw in front of you.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Despite the technical issues of him trying to learn OBS on the fly, which, you know what, considering how much of a pain in the ass Roll20,
Mm-hmm.
considering he had to learn Roll20 on the fly, I don't blame him for stumbling on that. But in terms of the actual game, it was fun.
Yeah.
I had no problem with it.
I had fun with it too. I think it's like the only issue was, and he openly acknowledged he's expecting a longer session.
Yeah, I learned years ago to change how I do sessions to account for that limited time slot. I mean, I had done limited time slots sessions at like cons and the like, but doing it for a live stream is a different energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to learn on the fly when it came to that. The thing that I think helped was when I started to look at the game, started to look at the individual sessions like episodes of a TV show.
Yeah, I would look at that. Look at it that way too.
John, you've seen how I've talked about setting up a natural breakpoint.
Yeah.
And
You've gotten better at
Hell,
that.
hell, when I do when we do our actual plays on my server, we just formulate them as chapters of like they're chapters of a book.
Yeah, I can see chapters of a book, but the reason I went with a television show format is you have to have certain beats hit at certain times. It's
True.
I liken it to what happens when a novel writer thinks that they can write a film script, and they learn the hard way that they can't.
Ah.
I mean, some people can do it, but they are unicorns.
Yes.
You like those with their triple threat in theater.
Mm-hmm.
They can dance, they can act, and they can sing.
The triple threat.
So
Cut my fucking music. And fuck Ric Flair.
okay, Shane Douglas.
But I did I thought it worked out pretty well. I will note that I'm keeping a close eye on Tabletop Mirror, because if that ends up panning out the way I think it might, that is going to replace Roll20. Because keep in mind, I didn't pick Roll20 for this out of any loyalty. It was because it was the best of the worst.
Yeah. There's in terms of VTTs, it's not.
It works for what we need it to be.
It works.
It works
My
enough.
DM is my DM is still using Roll20 because he has too much time and he has too much of a financial investment
From
in it.
when I worked with John about doing that comeback video, I explained why some of the other ones I had considered, but I realized that they would not be feasible for what I want to do. Like, I like Foundry is nice, but there was the issue of setting up a network, and doing it direct would involve a whole lot of hoops. So that was Fantasy Grounds turned me off immediately because of the price.
Yeah.
And the fact that, unlike every other VTT, you have to pay to get a player license.
Yeah, which is a little annoying.
Not only that, but it's like $30.
Yeah, no.
Nope.
some people had
I'm
brought
fine
up.
with playing. I'm fine with playing free. Thank you very much.
Some had brought up Owlbear Rodeo to me, which is very bare bones by design. But because of the fact that some of the games that I'm going to be using are not using standard dice, that was out. Astral was considered, but Astral's pretty much dead. And
Rip.
Shard Tabletop is built only for 5e, so that was out.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people have talked up Alchemy. Alchemy looks nice, but I have concerns about how well it handles homebrew, or how it handles systems that it isn't officially supporting.
Oh.
And that's why Alchemy was off the table. So it was a case of, I'm not saying Roll20 was the best, but it was the one that had the least amount of catches.
Yeah.
Although sometimes I think that their RNG algorithm is somewhat bullshit. Given how
It's RNGesus. What do you expect?
No. And John, you can attest to this. There were multiple cases during Sword World where we ended up getting the exact same die result multiple times in a row.
Oh my god!
Damn it, D'Lo.
No.
Oh yeah, I actually
We had many cases of that.
Yeah, I remember that. I was in several
How many
sessions.
fails we had? How many? We had one session where we had 8 to 10 critical fails. It was in one half. It was and most of those were in one half of it. So
What did
this
you
was
do to piss off the dice gods?
It wasn't the dice gods. It was Roll20 just being a bitch.
I
need to bring
remember
up
the
again?
reactions that were causing. That was the funniest
oh my
shit.
God, they're losing their fucking minds.
Yeah.
That was the funniest
I need to
shit.
go. I need to actually watch that actual play now. Listen to that actual play now.
Yeah, it's just I didn't even watch at the screen, right? I was looking away for a second, and I see John. Ah! I hear John.
I think we clipped that one actually.
no. The one we clipped was the one where you thought was from a one shot, but was the one shot where you thought you killed the boss at the end of the campaign.
Oh, that's right. Oh my god. Oh, I was so pissed because it just would not die.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's
So it was like Gawain. So it was like Gawain in the Fate Grand Order Camelot movies.
Oh, fuck you. No, it was literally just for almost finish this thing about the one shot and then get back to the point I was saying with the fails. What happened with John was he rolled it. He did this attack and everything culminated with a 29. And so he had said basically along the lines of, okay, regardless of what happens, it's dead. We're done. Defense roll came, and with all the boosts and everything, it was a 30. And John just rage quit after that.
I did just post the clips in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, so it's that bomb one. But I just think, with Sword World, I distinctly remember it was over the course of 2 hours, 5 of us had gotten crit fails at some point. It could be on our side, the Mildred side. There was just 8 of them piled up.
Yeah.
But granted, I think we the non-combat ones. We try. I think we try to play them off as best as we can. Knowing Lady K and I, if anytime that happened with us out of combat, we try to make it comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, there is comedy in tabletop. That's bound to happen.
But it's literally with Lady K and I. That's usually our shtick.
I have considered commissioning a piece of your two characters as the comedic duo, especially with Kay's character riding on your shoulders or something.
I have considered if you can find someone to do an animated sprite or something, just have I will help pitch in for this. And it's just for comedy's sakes, like it's just watching the chaos. You have Gar just eating popcorn, and you have the bun on his shoulder, just looking on as well, just cheapified. Just watching the chaos.
Yeah.
Until inevitably John's character comes out and destroys the popcorn bucket.
Yeah. By the way, I haven't done Geek in a Week in a while, so although I say technically, although I bring it up in calls when I'm on the wrestling calls. But I have to have a laugh at what is probably going to go down in history as the biggest bomb in if not gaming history as a whole, in modern video gaming history.
Concord?
Yes.
Oh God!
I knew Concord was going to go down in flames, just because of the fact that it was not appealing and how hard they were pushing it. I did not think it would go down in less than 14 days.
Less than 2 weeks. Oh, yeah.
I can even give you general numbers because
I know that at peak it had only 600 players.
No, not that numbers. I'm gonna tell you.
I'm sure it costs so much to host just every day.
Yeah. The thing is, they spent an approximately over the course of 8 years. They spent approximately $150 million.
And
right, and they returned and they sold 25,000.
Whoa!
Copies.
Which there were a couple of really big red flags.
No, you don't understand how high of a flop it is.
Yeah.
E.T. You know that E.T. E.T. You know E.T. I'm pretty sure everyone here knows. It sold 2 million.
Mm-hmm.
This game sold 25,000.
That's 6,000. That's basically $6,000 per unsold copy.
Well, and this is where we get to the first red flag.
Yeah.
Was the fact that they wanted an upfront payment when all of their competition is free to play with MTX.
But is it like MTX that isn't really necessary to beat the game?
First off, there's no beating because it's multiplayer only. But second off, it is a case where if your competition is going one way and you're going the whole you got to pay $60 up front, you better have a damn good reason, because every game in this kind of approach that's tried that has failed on this front, and there are two really big examples that should have been learned from. The first one, and one of the big ones, is Lawbreakers. Lawbreakers wasn't free to play, it was an upfront cost. They tried to justify it as a premium cost. Justification didn't work, especially since, for whatever reason, they didn't have a team deathmatch mode at launch.
The fuck?
Yeah,
that's about right.
Yeah, Lawbreakers was a thing. I think
that tracks.
Made by one of the godfathers of team deathmatch, and you don't have a deathmatch mode at launch, and instead are going for this hero shooter, but not quite. That was the problem.
Are you high on mescaline?
Nerd Slayer has done a effective breakdown on Lawbreakers. That's not the purpose here. The other was Artifact, and as a game, Artifact had some interesting ideas, but trying to do an upfront cost when all of your competitors aren't was a very bad move. That and the fact that nobody was asking for a Dota card game.
Ugh.
I think the reason people aren't shitting on Deadlock right now is because, one, it is well established that it's not fully out yet. It's in a bunch of testing phases. And two,
it's actually fun.
It actually it's looking like they're actually trying.
What's the game called again?
Deadlock.
Yeah.
I tried it. I can give you quick impressions here. They took the experience they had with big, massive multiplayer games they had before, and instead of taking all the menial crap, right? The artifact is kind of all menial crap, overcomplicated and shit like that, right? Instead of that, they took like the best aspects of games like TF2, Dota 2, those aspects, those ideas, and they kind of remixed it together into a game that does not waste your time with shit, right? You can go quickly quickly to the lane. I'm just finished. You can go quickly to the lane using the railway network they established above. You can scale buildings. You can quickly grab the items from the shop that is right there beside the first tower. You could just side strafe and buy items. It's a lot faster than you expect it to be. It still takes upward of like 30-40 minutes on like really close matches, but it's a lot faster pace wise because it's a shooter.
30 or so minutes is still much faster than say Summoner's Rift in League, where a match of that can go like an hour and a half.
Yeah. Like the longest match I had when I played today on Leon's server was about 40 minutes, as I said. Like that was the longest, and it's extremely addicting. Like that's one thing I have to say. It's extremely addicting.
Go ahead.
You don't notice how time passes.
And I'd say that's a mark of a good game. But
hell, you want to know what I'd play instead?
Marvel
Rivals.
I mean, it's a good game, seemingly. So
I'm not all that interested in that, because especially since I don't live and die on MCU cape shit. But I will admit, Marvel Rivals has a bit more justification to exist. That and as I've made it unless there's a PC version, I'm not fucking with it because I do not fuck with mobile.
Here's the thing. This is it's less of cape shit and more it's a more interesting idea than bland woke bullshit.
When it came to I ended up doing my investigations when it came to Concord, and the big thing that I had was I didn't understand why they wanted to do this episodic storytelling for a multiplayer game, for one.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
And two, there was the fact that we are at the point where we have hero shooters that are doing something different. Even though I don't play it as much as I used to, Rainbow Six Siege is not going to be playing the same as, say, Overwatch. I made as much as one idiot wants to claim otherwise, I made it very clear that looking at Mecha Break as Overwatch with mechs is a very shallow method of thinking, very one brain cell thinking.
I agree.
Forest for the trees, as it were.
And the thing is, even if one could argue that the hero shooter genre is oversaturated, with those entries, they're doing something unique with it that's bringing it to the table. Whereas with what I saw with Concord, it just looked like a class-based shooter. Like there wasn't anything else it was really doing, and I'm like, you spent hundreds of millions of dollars on just doing what everybody else is doing. Of course you.
Yeah, the thing is, someone I think did a breakdown, like that is a fair breakdown of Concord as a game, and it's extremely confusing in its design, because they have a lot of overlays from like the tactical shooters, like the thing you have in Valorant where you stop and you automatically go to the opposite direction after you go to one direction, you immediately stop. You need this in Valorant in order to minimize movement, because movement destabilizes your aim. But in this game, nothing destabilizes your game. So why is it here? It's just like a lot of these ideas and things they have in there are just so unnecessarily present and so unnecessarily complicated that it just doesn't work. For example, the most of the game modes that they implemented, Team Deathmatch or something, the entire game is built upon the idea of you working together in a team to team buffs, all that fun stuff. But you have irregular spawning, so you never can be spawned in a team. So why is that a thing then? Like, can you pick a lane? Can you make some sort of identity? The main issue why Concord failed is that it does not have a single piece of identity, something that makes it stand out. Deadlock has it. Deadlock has that cartoonish, stylized graphic, and it's mix of MOBA and shooter. You have the Marvel Rivals, which are also extremely stylized and are based around Marvel Universe, which is everyone knows and loves in the public, right? What does Concord have, which the others do not? And they do not have anything. If you look at it, they just do not have anything. It's just a boring. It's just milk. It's just a milkshake without a flavor. It's the most boring milkshake ever.
To make a bit of
vanilla,
pandering,
when people want it. Go ahead.
to make a bit of pandering to me, it is a throwback without an arm, because it's very clear that they wanted to be Guardians of the Galaxy. Except we already have a Guardians of the Galaxy game that came out about a year ago.
Fucking fun.
I consider that game a glorified apology for the Marvel's Avengers abomination.
Hey guys, I gotta head on out.
No worries.
No worries.
Later, guys.
Later.
And in that same vein, since you brought up I feel like it was trying to do this space opera that's trying to reference the art style of science fiction from the pulp days, but it fails at doing if that was the approach, it fails at doing the one thing that is vastly important. And I know I use this gag a lot, but it applies here. COMMIT. Because just go back and look at the character designs in Concord. And I've seen some art friends have a bit of a field day with trying to do redesigns. One of them was one particular redesign got some of the designers a bit triggered, because they're like, we're going through a hard time, we don't need this stuff. It's like, you've been going through a hard time for 8 years.
Do I have to call all y'all motherfuckers a wambulance?
I simply had the attitude of no simpy.
Agreed. Hell, I've played and beaten the Guardians of the Galaxy game twice. It's fun. There's replay value. This is just boomer shooter. Hell,
No. Do not lower boomer shooters to this.
No. This is looter shooter.
It's not even that. Oh, Concord is trying to be a hero shooter. Keep in mind, despite what some people say, details matter, and
the
the
devil's
wording
in
of
the details, as it were.
Yeah. And Lord knows I'm not going to be doing a specific image-based devil in the details. Look, you know exactly who I'm talking about, John. You know, that guy who tries who gets way too into replicating the people he's trying to mimic.
Oh yeah.
But when it comes to the designs, you have there's a whole lot of clashing colors. There's not really a strong silhouette. I've been told by art students that having a strong silhouette is something that gets beaten into your head very early on. In fact, I may end up asking Kay if that's something that she ended up hearing a lot, is the importance of silhouette. Oh. Because
maybe that's what I'm missing in my art.
I did bring something similar up when it came to the reason why all of the designs in MK games for the last few years have not done it for me. Because there was this one person who was like, the old MK designs were insert a bunch of buzzwords here. And it's like, you just want fan service, you just want prawn. I'm like, no, because that was never the argument I ever made. My argument was that the that there was over design. This is a problem that I also have with a lot of designs of characters in superhero movies, of adding way too much unnecessary detail in lines and plating, trying to justify the existence of a superhero outfit, especially by trying to act like it's armor when it isn't.
KISS.
And if you look at the way character designs have worked in Mortal Kombat over the years, you kind of see this, where there's a bunch of extra stuff that's added instead of focusing on a core set of colors or a core layout that can easily be recognizable.
Yeah.
Contrast this with, say, I've used Street Fighter a lot for this, so let's use King of Fighters instead. There are certain there's going to be a certain color combination in say King of Fighters that's immediately going to make you think of Iori Yagami.
Yeah.
Just to use him as one example. Also, you can hear him laughing if you listen close. And same thing with Ryu. Even though they've experimented with his stuff, with his appearance, it's usually the white gi and the red bandana and the red gloves.
But in 5, they were like, yeah, let's give him a beard.
Which apparently a lot of journalists were thirsty for, while also getting on at everybody else about fan service, because there's no standards like double standards.
Right. Of course. I think with a lot of the designs, when it comes to Concord in general, to me, it's not that they are particularly over-designed or whatever. The problem, I think, is that they don't represent who characters are in gameplay much. You have the lady with glasses, right? I don't remember her name. The one with the buns. Yeah, it doesn't matter. So you looked at her, and she looked like she just came out from like a disco in the 90s dance club, right? And she killed her stylist because he was actually giving her decent advice on how to dress. Unfortunately, she didn't. Yeah, unfortunately, she didn't listen. And you look at her, and you don't really see what the fuck is she up to, right? And then you look at her in gameplay and go, "Oh, she has knives." What?
Aki.
The design had absolutely no coherent relation between this and the knives, and it's just like, what? Why?
Mm-hmm.
Like why?
Imagine being a core fan of this project and getting like a tattoo of one of these characters.
And hell, look, you guys mind if I put myself in the spotlight when it comes to this whole design? When it comes to this whole design thing,
Go ahead. Show yourself.
So I'm going to, for the purposes of this, bring up my model. which everybody's seeing. The character sheet and all of that has been well seen. But you'll notice that that with that design, the color scheme is very simple. The details are a few bullet points and not a whole lot else. Whether you're looking at the design in terms of the model itself or the concept designs that I've commissioned.
Yeah.
And just to use one as an example, I'll bring up one that I haven't used in a black and white. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that because that's black and white. That defeat the purpose. Yeah. I will instead use the one that I use for my current avatar, my current profile pic, and that's this one, which I just put in Sacristi chat. And I think you can see what I mean about narrowing down the design. And if you need something a little bit more neutral, there you go. But the key thing is that even though there's plenty of details, it's not like there's a bunch of excessive details that are going to distract the mind. There's a few things that your eyes are going to be gravitating towards. Namely things like the prayer beads or the sleeves. You get the method to the madness?
For sure.
Of course.
Yeah. And just to use a similar. This is also the reason why, if you present a set of just blocky colors to someone, they'll immediately look at that and think of a certain superhero. Like if you put a bunch of blue and red in a certain pattern, people are immediately going to think Superman.
Yeah. Or Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. Depending on how you arrange it, yeah. And hold on a sec. We got a bot I need to deal with. Also, hi there, Brian.
Happens a lot.
It's always best viewers.
With that, I need to head out. I need to get ready for tomorrow's service.
All right. See you, Akira.
Later.
See ya.
And I just hit the ban hammer on that one. Sorry about that, folks.
All the time. It's been a while since we've had one.
Mm-hmm. And I will be back in 1 minute. Need to handle one small thing.
Copy that, and
We are back. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, these things happen.
Life gets in the way.
But as I was saying, I tried to keep the details simple, and even in the past designs that I've gone with, I've tried to keep it simple. That's also why there's a small part of me that dreads if I ever run like Warhammer 40k in the cloister sometime in the future.
Yeah.
Because, well, first off, it means that it's as much as I try not to, and I think you guys can understand this. In that situation, I'm gonna have to be a little more hands-on with K regarding the art.
Because there's an established template or an established style.
I try not to be because I know I wouldn't want anyone backseating me. But because there's certain looks there, it's something that I'd have to do. There's also the other reason to dread is the design in Warhammer, whether it be fantasy or 40k, is very detailed. And I never got to ask, but I've always wondered if a major bit of K's influence was comic book art.
I don't think so. I mean, I could ask, but I'd have to ask her, but I don't think so. She's not a big comic book fan.
Either comic books or manga when it came to the art style. Which
manga wouldn't surprise me.
Incidentally, I did have to explain to somebody why shonen manga tends to get anime more often than seinen or even shoujo. It comes down to the detail level. Shonen is relatively simpler in its details compared to seinen or shoujo or the like. So it's easier to transfer to animation.
Yeah, they also, I think a lot of the shonen manga series they were made specifically in mind with long serialization, and usually long serialization tends to include the need to draw like all the time. So as you said, definitely plays into the simplicity of the art. Like, you look at Jujutsu Kaisen, for example. It's more seinen-ish, but it's still very much that similar, very simple kind of art style with simple designs that are easy to consume and easy to draw in some way.
Yeah. Contrast that with... And I know Berserk is cursed when it comes to anime adaptations. But if you go back and look at Miura's art, I think you can understand why it'd be so damn hard to try and do that in animation on a TV budget.
Yeah, you'd have to have like a streaming service budget for that.
Yeah.
Movie.
Mm-hmm. Just quickly to talk about 40k. I recently encountered the Only War game for the 40k.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure
the primary war game.
Yeah, the Only War part of the TTRPG, kind of the guardsman. The guardsman.
Oh yeah, that one. The way you said it sounded like the Only War game.
No, the Only War / game.
Yeah.
And it's like I got all of the PDFs for it, right? I downloaded it, and they are absolutely non-indexed. They are so old. They're basically just fucking photos, scans of the thing. It's suffering. It really is suffering. We just have to like refer to each of the pages and like find the page on the PDF, and they're desynchronized too. So it's suffering.
I don't know if this was a case of just a bad scan, but I definitely didn't have that problem with the version of it that I have.
Maybe a bad scan, but like, yeah,
The version I have is the official version when they started putting the stuff on DTRPG. I just grabbed the PDF now, and it's completely searchable. So I think you ended up getting somebody who scanned it the old-fashioned way with a literal scanner.
maybe.
Which I've had my fair share of those, but it's usually really old games that I have that. And Brian says only war is guardsmen, the going to die. Well, isn't that kind of redundant? A guardsman's life is to die.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the things in the 4K universe's life is to die.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. And as an aside, something that I want to try and do down the road is some sort of community built campaign setting. Like some sort of campaign setting with the input of everybody here in the temple. Obviously, trying to do that would be a hell of an endeavor, and I'd have to do it through a bunch of surveys. But it is an idea I've considered, and I may revisit as Legend Edition gets closer and closer to release. But
yeah,
right now, the attitude that I've had with Warhammer in general is I will only engage in the third-party materials, i.e.
fuck Games Workshop,
i.e. the games, the some of the side stuff that isn't directly related to the core war game. Mostly because I'm not interested in that plastic crack. If I want to engage in plastic crack, I'll engage in Gunpla.
Yeah, Gunpla is freedom.
That and somebody already made a war game so you could take certain Gunpla and use a rule set to do battles with. It was originally built for using Gundam, but it could be done with others. I may use it as a one-off down the road if I can figure out how to make it work in like TTS or something.
Yeah.
But that's admittedly I'm gonna have to do a bit of work because the core rules only cover the 1-year war era of Universal Century.
Oof.
Yeah, it gets old fast.
Which that's nice and all, but I know that's not where I would want to focus. Especially given the audience, I know I'd probably want to do more of like the After Colony era, or I don't think I would try and do G Gundam in war game form. That would feel kind of redundant.
No.
And since G Gundam is trying to focus more on one-on-one fights, I wouldn't even do that in TTRPG form. Not unless I'm doing a duet.
Yeah.
And I do know that they have a lot of the other stuff, but it's a more of digging and organizing and making sure that it fits within my level of OCD. And I already had to do a bunch of that for the Robotech game that we're doing, so I don't feel like redoing that. Because for a bit of context, I have a bit of a habit of making these unified indexes for some of the games that we run. Even if it's only one book, I'll usually use that as a way to integrate house rules or homebrew that I happen to like, or expansions that I want to utilize. Even if I don't utilize, I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. But I will note one of the big things that I knew I wanted to do when I did the VTuber launch was do more stuff with video games. Which I'm doing more consistent at. I honestly think limiting it to 3 streams a week has helped.
That's good. You gotta make it livable, you know.
Make it flexible with your real life schedule. What else you have?
It's more of getting myself in the proper mindset, and it's still a work in progress.
Get it?
I feel that.
Oh.
Basically getting used to having a schedule like this. You haven't game streamed in like how long?
It's been a while, and I had a bunch of stop and starts. Like there was that one period where I was doing it every night. Then I tried doing it every morning on the weekdays. Didn't quite work out.
You couldn't commit to a schedule is what the problem was.
That and some other side work would come along, or setting things up was just so much work. Plus, I was having issues with the controller emulator that I used. Because I'm not buying a brand new controller just for PC games when I can just use a controller emulator for like my PS4 controller.
Yeah.
And it turns out the version of that I had was wildly out of date. The sole reason I didn't do the Anima streams like I had planned was there was some compatibility issue with the controller where it thinks I'm using 2 controllers, and it kept spinning.
Nice.
But I've managed to somewhat amend that. Though when that third Anima game comes out, Song from the Abyss, you can bet your ass I'm gonna be streaming that.
When are what platforms are the Anima games on? Because I've been interested in
All of
playing
them
ever since.
But keep in mind it was
them ever since you reviewed the game, because
when I never reviewed the video games. I only reviewed the TTRPG.
Oh, the TTRPG. That's what I mean. That's TRPG. That's what I mean.
You can get that on DriveThruRPG these days, since Anima Project Studio.
I meant like the video games.
Steam, Switch, PS4. The games have been around for about 6 years.
All right, got it.
There's there's Gate of Memories, and then the Nameless Chronicles. I would be more willing to recommend getting that on console than getting it on PC right now because of that controller issue.
Yeah, that's why I was asking.
Mm-hmm. But the big reason is I've stated I want to highlight indie games, and I didn't think I was doing that enough. Like the most I was doing was the occasional stream or the shit shows. And I didn't think that was enough of me putting my money where my mouth is. Plus, I just need an excuse to just game more, period. because of all the other shit that I end up doing. But I do, at the very, I am still maintaining that whole thing of you will never see me stream Fortnite.
Me neither.
Hell no.
Or DL.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
If I can get enough people.
Fortnite's overrated.
Well, I'm just not interested in that style. If I can get away with if I can get a party together for like Naraka Blade Point, that I'd be more willing to do.
Wait, Naraka Blade Point?
Yeah.
Give me a sec. Give me a sec to do my thing.
Yeah, you do your thing. You'll see why. But it's not exactly high priority. I do.
Ooh, I'm intrigued now.
I know that when Mecha Break comes along, I'm going to be covering it, and I'm going to be taking the piss out of anyone who claims that it's just Overwatch with mechs.
As someone who actually played it, I was invited to the closed beta test of it.
I was too.
Um,
I was too.
Yeah, it's definitely not. It's very much. It has a lot of its own identity and a lot of its own unique flavor to everything, and it's just a blast to play. Honestly,
What is the name of this?
Mecha Break.
Yeah.
Mecha
Also,
Break. Cool.
I pointed this out during that stream, Theo, but I'll bring it up here. It ended up solving the toxicity problem because it's doing something that I've been getting on a lot of multiplayer games for not doing. Because whenever I see like the devs of Overwatch or League or whatnot complain about the toxicity problem in one form or another, I always laugh because it's a problem that's self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Because
dog on a nail.
The reason why I say that is there's not really a casual play option. You have everybody put into the same playlist as the sweaties and have their wins and losses be crucial to their particular rank. And there's no way to casually engage, which is something that we've had in one form or another for decades. And the solution is very simple: make bot matches a thing.
Yeah, just fuck around with the bots. Hell, to give an example, since this is a multiplayer only game, though there is a solo mode. Why do you think Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel has the solo has like a...
You're thinking of the solo campaign that it has. That's not exactly what I'm going with. I'm just saying straight up.
No, they're going to be instituting an AI function where you can just test out decks.
That's good.
Future.
Yeah. Like the only MOBA that I know of that had bot matches is Heroes of the Storm. God damn it! I'm not the. I'm
pretty sure League also has it.
It has the tutorial, and you can only play as Garen in the tutorial,
No. They added the whole section of the game that you can just play against bots.
Must have happened after I left.
Yeah. They have a lot of that stuff. You can basically spend most of the levels from 10 just playing against bots, and then after that you can just continue playing against bots, try out characters and builds and yada yada.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that I'm getting at. And labbing has been a thing in fighting games since day one.
Yeah,
just messing around.
There's been a practice mode,
and because of that,
all right, stay frosty, guys. I'm being called elsewhere.
No worries, man.
Alright.
But the thing is that the reason why I keep taking the piss on this whole issue is when the solution is that in your face, there's no real reason to not take that solution other than pride. That's really the only reason to continue on with the problem, unless you are like those black pillars who do not want a solution. They want an eternal problem, because if a solution comes, then they lose all relevance. You know, there's no good games coming out, or entertainment is lost kind of people.
Oh yeah.
They're always going to be. They're always going to be like that. Like, they will look at the worst part of something and go, "See, that's what I mean."
What do I keep saying about looking for witches, John?
Oh, those who look for witches will find them everywhere.
Because they find them everywhere, then finding one doesn't have any value. But I will say that this has been an interesting last few weeks, and I didn't think when I started the temple that I would eventually migrate into becoming a game designer, but that's where I am. So I guess I can add the first the first game designing VTuber to my resume. I'm not going to put it in there. I am still calling myself the first tabletop focused VTuber, which arguably is arrogant, but I think at this point I've earned a little bit of arrogance. And if
10 years.
Oh, go ahead.
10 years in the game.
But I am still working on just refining some of the stuff. As far as whether or not some of the issues in the current demo for FF Legend are going to be fixed, they're not going to be fixed before Sage ends, because the crew needs a little bit of a break. But it will. But I don't foresee this thing still being in development come January. I think by year's end this will be completely finished, and I will probably end up doing a stream that is the whole crew doing a victory lap on it. Nope. And once that's done, it'll be onto stuff like the expanded material in the Ultimania guide that's being tooled around, or even other projects. Because I do plan on continuing this whole either showcasing or focusing on TTRPGs that are taking inspiration from video games. Because in doing that, I get to take the piss out of that ivory tower crowd that acts like games need to pretend that it's 1982 for eternity.
Like we said, the Ivory Tower retirement home.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's going to do it for this particular Fireside. This was a bit impromptu. Geek Watch will be returning next week. And beyond that, I've got a couple of things I'm going to be doing later tonight. One interview, and then I'm going to be doing Monastery Gaming. I'm not going through Stranger of Paradise tonight, because after the crunch to get that demo out, I need something a little lighter, so I'm going to be doing Signy All Guns Blazing. Yes, a shmup is lighter for me. A shmup is more relaxing for me. As long as it's not Toho. I will not do that kind of bullet hell again. Monday, I'm gonna be doing the Men Who Stare at Sports Ball. We tried on Friday, but then we realized that wasn't gonna work, and it was either that or wait whole weeks. So Monday is gonna be it. Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm doing a couple interviews, including the first time I will get to talk about a wrestling TTRPG in the Monastery Live interviews. Thursday and Friday, of course, is Valley of the Judged. And Saturday, we are, unless some act of God happens, we are coming back to the Robotech campaign. So that should be a whole lot of fun. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.
Thank you. 有兄弟。